The New South Wales Government is reinstating a payment of up to $37,000 a year for parents who adopt vulnerable children. Currently, foster parents are given a fortnightly allowance, but the payment stops once a child is adopted. Renee Carter is the CEO of Adopt Change, and she's here with me now in the studio. Renee, great to see you. Thanks so much for coming in. What's your reaction to this $37,000 payment for some people?
Yes, look, the reforms that have come in today from New South Wales are very positive. That higher figure that you mentioned is obviously for children with extra needs, and it's quite a bit lower for a regular situation. But really, I guess it's one of the barriers that is stopping some people from moving from foster care to adoption. And with the high numbers of children going into out-of-home care, I think it's recently risen to over 46,000, and 30,000 of those have been away from birth family for over 2 years, unlikely to return. And so we've been calling for permanency for children, but unfortunately adoption has been almost impossible.
Is it the financial aspect of adoption, as foster parents you have this fortnightly allowance, or are there some other barriers preventing people from adopting children? We often see a kind of heartwarming sense of people wanting to adopt kids from overseas, but we don't necessarily hear a lot of adoptions locally.
Yes, so I guess there's probably not so much awareness about the situation in Australia, that there are children that need permanency here as well. And then there's a range of barriers. It takes many years and it's almost, I guess, impossible. Last year there were less than 200 adoptions within Australia of Australian children. And in New South Wales was the highest, with 68 children from out-of-home care. So yes, really there's not many children being adopted here. And the other barriers that you encounter are red tape, just delays of all kinds. So this is one of the barriers, but we're calling for ongoing reform.
Who are these vulnerable children?
Look, the children that this reform applies to are children that have come from abusive or neglectful birth family situations, and it's been deemed that they're unable to return back home. So the alternative for them currently in most situations is for them to either be in foster care, but often they may move more than 10 times from home to home, and then also may end up in residential care. So really it's so critical for a child's positive outcomes in early life and later life for them to have a family and permanency and to know where they're going to live, and we believe adoption is something that offers that for them. Given
the red tape and given the delays and given how few children were really adopted last year, 200 versus that 40,000 or whatever number that you said actually need to find homes, does that red tape and do those barriers need to be addressed more urgently than a payment?
Yes, they do, and I believe in New South Wales this is part of a suite of reforms, and they have got an adoptions transformation program, which is why there is quite a bit of change in New South Wales happening. They're hoping to have their highest, I think, projected 100 adoptions this year within New South Wales, and next year for that to be higher. I guess what we need to see is the rest of Australia actually following suit and having quite significant reform to make this a reality for children around Australia.
For a child who has often been in, say, 10 homes at a very young age, how difficult is it for them emotionally to adjust to a permanency, and also for an adoptive family to manage what you would assume would be some very difficult aspects of that child's upbringing, to manage them within a household?
Yeah, look, I guess for a child it can be very challenging to come into a new situation if they've moved a number of times. What's to say that this is different and that they are going to be in a permanent home? So a child needs a number of therapeutic supports put in place. So financial support is one for the family, but often that is to be able to provide therapeutic support. And the family themselves also need support. The child's been through either single or multiple traumas, and so both the child and the family need support to make sure that they've got the best possible outcome.
In terms of announcements like that one today, how quickly does this move through a system when we've got this in place? Does it tend to take a while?
It does seem that that policy has been changing for a few years around Australia, and that's a positive thing, but it actually, for the sake of the children that are in care now, does need to move a lot faster into reality.
Okay, Renee Carter, great to meet you, great to see you. Thanks so much for dropping in.
Thank you, Kimmy.